Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Craft Our Paper Stash Cards, which is a collab I do with Stmpgrl, who is Paige, on the 15th of each month. I'm a little late getting mine up today, like a few hours late. There are some other people that play along with this as well. Linda Kaufman is one, and I think GIE''S Tidbits maybe sometimes plays along. I'm not sure she does every time, but I'll have links to all their channels down below. Paige primarily, and then Linda and G. I might check and see if they post anything first though. So anyway, the idea behind this is to use up our humongous, I'm sure, paper stash. So, you know, I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I was originally going to use an old Spellbinders kit, monthly kit I had gotten, but when I looked through the kit I was thinking of, I want to use that for something else, so I held back on using that. But I figured, you know, we have the holiday catalog now, but I didn't want to do Christmas cards because I'm kind of wanting to do something else. So, and I have a lot of designer paper that's not Christmas. So I pulled out the Woven Threads pattern paper, which is not really my favorite paper. This is what it looks like in the annual catalog, and I didn't use this very much because it's not my favorite paper. It's parts of it are really pretty, and you'll see I think the cards came out really nice, but so yeah, that's what I used. And then, you know, I'm always needing thank you cards, so I pulled out this stamp set to use, and also I pulled out Itty Bitty Greetings. It's a two-part set to use. I did use my layering circles, two scalloped ones for one of the cards, and I did use I don't think I used any of the flourishing phrases, but I did use a flourish die that goes with that set. So, and the other thing is, I pulled out the paper and I stared at it for a while, and I'm like, now what am I gonna do? Because the idea is just with this paper, because it's not my favorite, they just weren't flowing. So I thought, I'm gonna go look for card sketches, and that's what I did. And I came across this website called, oh gosh, Cards TV, CARDZ TV.blogspot.com. And I clicked around on the website and I found she's got like at least 30 card sketches there. So I used 5 of them, and I made 5 different cards. So let me start in the order that I did them, I think. Yeah, I think this is the order I did them. So this is the first card sketch. Ignore this stuff, it didn't print right. So you can see that, and these have measurements on them, which I really like. Sometimes you get card sketches and they don't have measurements. Now this one I did pretty much to size. It's a A2 4¼ by 5½ portrait card. The base mat here is 3¾ by 5, so it's in a little further than I usually do. I usually do 4. Then this mat is 2 inches by 4 inches. Then it has this border of 1¼ by 4¼ so it goes all the way across to the card. And then a circle 1½ inch, and I did use my 1½ inch circle punch for that, and it says sentiment. Now this card I did use the flourish die, and let me just bring it in and show you. So the Woven Threads papers go with all the new 2019 to 21 in colors. So Purple Posy is one of them, so I use that as my base. Then this paper actually has Purple Posy, Rococo Rose, and Seaside Spray, and a little, looks like Very Vanilla in it. So I use that as my big mat. Let me bring this in. The big mat back here. Then I used a plain piece of Purple Posy here, but I thought that looks pretty weird. So what I did is I took a piece of, I think it's this pattern paper on the back, has sort of a patterned It almost just looks like a linen-y Rococo Rose, and that's what I cut the flourish out of from the dies that go with flourishing phrases. I popped that up on dimensionals, and also this 1 1/4 inch by 4 1/4 inch strip I did put down. That's the same paper that this is cut out of, but then I brought in the ribbon, the scalloped linen ribbon, and I just added a little more to it across that strip. And then here I stamped in Rococo Rose, and this is out of the A Big Thanks. Your lovely wishes brought a smile to my day. And that's also bumped up in dimensionals, but glued on over here. And that is the card. And then on the inside, I had these 2 little thin strips of the same designer paper. I just cut them so they fit on the top and bottom. They were both like a little bit longer than this, so I cut them each down and glued them on the top and bottom, and that's all I did on the inside. So that's card number 1. And like I said, each one is a different card sketch, and I have not used card sketches a lot, so this is going to be a new thing for me, I think, when I am stuck. So this is the next card sketch. This is number 2, and the file name says Kit Caboodle's Sketch 2 New PDF 2016. So this one has the card base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This first mat, which is a big mat, is 4 by 5 1/4. And then you have 4 different size rectangles. This one's 1 1/2 by 1 3/4, 1 1/2 by 1 3/4, 2 1/4 by 1 3/4. So 1 3/4 is the depth. Then this one here is 1 1/2 wide by 3 1/4, and this one is 2 1/4 wide by 3 1/4. And then you have another square here on another mat, and the mat is 2 1/2 by 2 1/2, and the inner paper is 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. And then this one doesn't show it being on a mat. It's 3/4 inch by 3 1/4 inch, but I matted that. So let me show you what I did. Again on Purple Posy. Let me move this out of the way too. Okay, so oops. So I don't remember what this is the back of. Let me see if I can see it in the catalog, because I already put my paper out of the way. Okay, so the paper I used on here is actually this one over here, which you can barely see, but the backing, the rectangle mats I used are this one here, which I know you can't see real well, but it's sort of the Rococo Rose, but it's got some texture look to it. So and I used a piece of Whisper White as my matte layer, because it needed something to pop, I think, over the Purple Posy. And these are the back of that one paper, and this is that other one that's over here that's mostly Purple Posy flowers with some Rococo Rose and Seaside Spray. And then I did a 1 inch by 3 1/2. And I'm Here For You came out of the Itty Bitty Greetings, I'm pretty sure. 1 second. Yes, it's right here. Oops, that's really glary, huh? It's right here. I'm Here For You. I stamped that in Rococo Rose, and then I brought out the I'm almost out of these, actually, the In Color Faceted Dots for 2019 to 21, and I used 2 in Pretty Purple Posy and 1 in Terracotta Tile. No, I'm sorry, Rococo Rose. 1 in Rococo Rose. And then on the inside, I can't remember what I did. Okay, I just had an extra piece of that design paper that's this, and I actually had this piece of white, so I just layered it over the designer paper. So that's what I did on that one. Let me put this away. Okay, so then card number 3, I think either the best or second best. This is the sketch. It's their sketch number 10. So www.cardstv.blogspot.com, and the file name is Kit Caboodle Sketch 10, spelled out 10, PDF PS 2016. So this one, they're all A2, but it has a mat of 4 by 5 1/4. Then it's got rectangle mats, and they're all the same size of 1 7/8 by 2 3/8. And then the circle, they say, is 2.5 inches. I don't have a 2.5 inch circle punch, so I just I did an approximate, but I used scallop circles out of my layering circles dies, and this is what I came up with. And I really like this one, maybe because I like the pretty peacock with the purple posy. I don't know. So I did everything they said. You know, the mat is in pretty peacock. These are this piece here, right here. Okay, and it's the first time I had cut into that piece. And they're, what did I say, 1 7/8 this way by 2 3/8 this way. I kind of got them a little, I should have pushed them in a little further because I have a big gap in the middle. I did put down a piece of the scallop linen trim in the pretty peacock across the center. Oh, and I did also run the pretty peacock back here through the subtle embossing folder by Stampin' Up. And then these are the scalloped circles that I did, one in pretty peacock and one in whisper white, and I stamped thanks and friend. So what I did there is I put this thanks and there is a friend, oh, and this friend on the same block, and I tested it a few times till I got it straight, and I think I did. And I just put thanks friend there. And then these, of course, are the same faceted dots. And inside, I felt it needed, because there was a lot of layers like on here, it made the top heavy, so I did put a layer of pretty peacock, whisper white, and then a strip of the coordinating paper that I used here. So that's one of my favorites. That's my favorite out of the first 3 so far. So that's card number 3. And then the next one I also really like, and I do because I need to practice doing stuff like this. I am not good at putting things on crooked. Okay, so that's what drew me to this one. So this time I went with terracotta tile, which really looks too orange on screen. We've had that discussion. So this has a mat, and then it has 2 long mats that are 1 7/8 by 5 1/16. On top the 4 inch by 5 1/4 inch mat, on top the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. And then these are all matted as well. And on this one, the mat's 2.5 by 1.5, long and wide, and 2 3/8 by 1 3/8. This is 1.5 by 1.5 mat, and 1 3/8 by 1 3/8 paper. And this is a 1.5 inch circle, which I did use my circle punch for. And then I used a scalloped 1 3/8 inch paper, but I used designer paper, and I'll show you that. You're starting to see it. And then over here, again, they did not have this matted, but I did mat it. So I used a 3/4 inch by 1 3/4 inch. No, that's not right. I used 3/4 inch by 1 7/8 inch, and then I used with cardstock, and then I used 1.5 inch by 1 3/4 inch, I think, whisper white. And this is what that came out to be like. So this actually is Sahara sand, but it's not the cardstock, it's the back of this piece here, the one that had the purple posy flowers we used in a previous card. And this I cut out with a punch is one of these. I had a strip where I had cut some out previously, but I used my 1 3/8 inch circle punch, and I think that came out cute. And then I stamped Many Thanks. That's out of the Itty Bitty Greetings, I believe. One sec. Yes, it's out of set 1 of 2, Many Thanks, out of Itty Bitty Greetings. I did put a small terracotta tile faceted gem, and then I put 5 different sizes of the basic pearl rhinestones, and these are matted on regular terracotta tile cardstock like the base. This is actually the back of this paper here, and that has sort of a terracotta tile pattern, but it's a muted pattern on it, similar to how the Sahara sand is done. So I thought that came out pretty cool. And then inside I just have Whisper White with another strip of this paper. So I like that too, because it's different for me to angle things like that. And then lastly, oops, is this one. I wasn't going to do this one. I was going to use one with an oval. However, when I got done doing the other cards, I had a bunch of little squares. Now, I changed this one up just slightly. So this has an overall card mat also of 4 by 1 1/4. I'm sorry, 4 by 5 1/4 inch. This mat here is 1 3/4 by 5 inches. And I used a back of a pattern paper again, and then these are 1-inch squares, but I matted them on 1 1/4 inch squares, and then by doing that, I did this and then I didn't like it, and I felt like I needed something else over here. So by matting these 1-inch squares on 1 1/4 inch cardstock before putting them down, I spaced them out a little further, and then I had a piece of pattern paper left, the same one I used to do this mat, just big enough to stamp the sentiment I wanted to use, which was "You Are the Best." And that's out of a big thank you. So here's my card. So this time I used this paper, and the back of it is what I used for this mat here and the mat behind this. And I really like how it came out. And this I bumped up on dimensionals over just a tiny piece of the Rococo Rose scallop linen trim. This is Rococo Rose, but it's the back of this paper. And then this is from the last card I did. I had a little scrap left, which was actually already 1 inch wide, and I just had to cut a couple pieces of 1-inch squares. And then these are some scraps from this. But I backed them on Seaside Spray, which is what this card is on, because I hadn't used much Seaside Spray. So I tried to use all the in colors. And then inside, I did stamp that Thanks Friend again. I still had it on the block. And this paper here, I backed it on a scrap of this, but it's actually the one I cut the flourish out of from the first card. This is actually out of this paper. I don't know if you can see that paper. It has like texture, see? So I had die cut this out of a piece, and it just fit under, I think I had to trim it down just a little bit, and it made a nice mat around the edges. So I used the piece that I actually had die cut this out of on the inside of the card and put the Whisper White over it. But it sort of has the hollowy parts on this side, and I thought maybe people would be writing more over here. So I intentionally stamped another sentiment, and I think it goes good with it though. "You are the best. Thanks, friend." So so they didn't write too much up where all this stuff is cut out of the paper. So there you have it. There are my 5 cards from Card Sketches, and using the woven threads, and I'm starting to like them a little better, the paper, because, you know, it's more of a, let me just bring the cards in. It's more of a vintage look to it, and I don't do a whole lot of vintage. I do some, but not a whole lot. So anyway, I only did one landscape And I could have turned it the other way, I guess, and had the thanks friend going this way, and that would look cute too, actually. And then I could have, actually now that I think of it, I should have done that way. I could have covered up this bigger gap here, but oh well. I hope you liked what I made. Please do go visit Paige, and like I said, I'll put the links to Linda and G also, and check out their channels and see what they made. I already looked at Paige's. Her cards are amazing as always, but they're really spectacular this week, so be sure to check out Paige's Stmpgrl's cards this week, because they truly are amazing. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I think that's my last video for today. I'll probably have my plan with me up tomorrow, because now I'm off to clean up and organize this room a little better, because I am tripping over stuff, and I know that, you know, for amulets and stuff to be able to get through, they're supposed to have at least a 4.5 inch clear, I'm sorry, 4.5 foot wide clearance. Well, they don't have that up in my craft room. Let me tell you, I need to do some major cleaning and reorganizing today. So I will get the plan with me up tomorrow, probably. Tomorrow, I'll probably do it today sometime later, and put it up tomorrow. And then Tuesday, of course, is my live. So come back and watch then. And until the 15th of next month, have fun crafting your stash. Bye for now.